Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Well, last week we asked for tax questions from our Facebook friends and fans and Twitter followers, and as always, you guys have delivered. So we are going to get to them. By the way, we are talking to Tom South, who is a certified public accountant. We're learning so much about taxes here. It seems the more questions we ask, the more questions there are to ask. And one of our viewers says, what happens if you're audited? We were just talking about that before we went to break. You can't run away from filing your taxes.
You cannot. And if you do receive an audit letter, the best thing to do is respond in some shape or fashion.
Yeah, it's very important to do that.
Very important.
It's also important to let people know that there's help out there. If you have questions, if you need help preparing your taxes, there is help out there.
Yeah, in fact, I happen to know about VITA. That's an acronym for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and that's aimed at people who don't have a lot of income in the beginning, to begin with, to pay a CPA or a tax attorney. And here, right in the greater New Orleans area at Loyola Law School and Tulane Law School, you can contact them. We have the information on the screen. Go to our JRPOA website, John Redmann POA website, and you will get the same information to contact them for simple taxes, not very complicated, not if you have businesses and very complicated detailed tax accounting. I volunteered and assisted with taxes when I was in law school, and free help filing your taxes.
That's really important. But Tom, you mentioned something not long ago. You said you could go to either a CPA or a tax attorney. How do I know which one I should choose? The
level of service, specifically, a certified public accountant will help you prepare the individual tax return, and so will a tax attorney. The tax attorney is a degreed individual with a Juris Doctorate degree, a LLM, and they will help you in estate planning, wills, trust, setting up trust inside the testamentary, your will. So they offer a higher level of service than a CPA would offer with regards to legal actions that you can take in order to protect assets that you've accumulated over your lifetime.
I'd like to weigh in on that. A tax attorney, it seems to me, is somebody generally you're going to need if you're in litigation, if you're going to the court. They can step into the courtroom and represent you in a courtroom. A CPA can't. On the other hand, CPA is not going to, in general, in my opinion, charge you as much per hour simply to know exactly or what to do in preparing your taxes, whether it's complicated taxes or individual taxes that are not so complicated. Disclosure, Tom South has been my CPA for years, and that's why I invited him. I know that he's very knowledgeable, and I'm happy to state that on the record, full disclosure. But any CPA who prepares taxes is going to be far better able to assist you in prepare your taxes, unless you happen to be a CPA that does taxes. So a CPA or a tax attorney is going to be far better to assist you, but call and make an appointment. On that note, Tom, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you ought to be able to speak for the industry. In general, what does it cost to see a CPA and ask for help with simple taxes, the basic simple taxes for personal taxes, or more complicated taxes if you have businesses and other things you need to declare income from, or if you're self-employed, et cetera?
And that's a very good question. And the issue is the type of tax return we prepare. 1040 Easy or 1040A are the very low levels of service that a CPA firm would offer to their individual tax clients, and that fee would range anywhere from $75 up to $100 for those two.
Minimum fees, and it can go up depending on whether or not you bring in 4 banker boxes full of receipts that are in jumbles and
well, the
the
Easy and the A are usually not the banker box type clients. As we get to the regular 1040, where you may have that issue with regards to a lot of receipts, the actual fee will go up on a 1040, and whether you're itemized, it's a different fee. And if you have a Schedule C, which is a self-employed individual, it goes up more. And if you also have rental properties, so the fee is based on the level of service that's provided to the individual.
Based on the hours of work performed, basically, or is it a per?
It's a per return based on the actual number of forms that we prepare.
Okay, we have some more questions from our viewers here. One question wants to know, what potential tax scams should I look out for? We've heard stories where people just get scammed, especially the elderly, during tax season. What are some things that people need to be aware of?
The biggest issue that we look at now, and when we receive these emails, we report them to the Internal Revenue Service, is people requesting like from an official IRS website, your tax identification number and your name. That's the biggest one that we see presently. Or you have a problem with your tax return, you'll please contact us immediately or click on this link. The Internal Revenue Service does not contact you by email. They will definitely send you a letter or give you a telephone call or show up at your door. So the biggest one that we have to overcome now is that by email, providing information to an undisclosed source.
And they look very official.
They look extremely official, I must say.
And very important note, never give by email or even on the phone to a stranger your personal account information, your personal Social Security number, date of birth information. Almost always that is somebody trying to steal your identity information to steal your money.
Yes.
You look up the phone number to the IRS, your bank, call them directly. These are scams that happen all the time, especially on the elderly.
It is.
Now, what if I make a mistake on my tax return? That's another question from one of our viewers here. If I make a mistake and I realize that I've already sent my returns off, but I forgot to include something, what happens?
The easiest way to correct that, if you discover the mistake yourself and you beat the Internal Revenue Service to the punch with regards to notifying, you file a 1040-X, a U.S. individual tax return amended. And it shows what you originally reported on your tax return. There's a column to explain the change that you're making and a portion of the tax return to explain why you're making that change. So that's the easiest way to correct a mistake.
Now, and for people who know they're just going to be late, they're not going to make that deadline, what should they do?
They should definitely file an extension. And again, there's a tremendous issue with regards to extensions. The extension gives you an extension of time to file your tax return, not an extension of time to pay your tax return. And that's the biggest issue that we find with individuals self-prepared tax returns who file their tax return late. That, a timely filed extension will give you until October 15th to file your personal tax return.
Well, so how do I know what I should pay then if I haven't completed the return?
Well, you as an individual taxpayer, and this is the position the Internal Revenue Service takes, you're in control of your tax records specifically, and you should have a good idea or an estimate with regards to what you owe on a per year basis, based on your withholdings, based on your income, and you will know if you owe an estimated payment when you file your extension. Your best guess is the best thing. Pay something if you can with the filing of the extension if you determine that you're going to owe additional taxes when you do file your tax return.
Okay.
Now, the request for an extension, that's a simple one-page form, right?
4868.
We'll put that on the show website,
Good.
johnredmondpoa.com, so people can download the form and request the extension. But very good point. Make sure you pay at least the best estimate.
The best estimate you have. And again, a tax return is an estimate. It's, we know certain items on the tax return, but let's pay the estimated taxes that you think you owe. And there's also estimated taxes. If you think you're going to owe taxes at the end of the year, there's 4 estimates that are to be made a year on April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the subsequent year.
Well, we're running short on time here, but I know that you really want to talk about the Affordable Care Act and how that is going to affect people as they get ready to file their taxes. So what are some of the important things that we need to know? Well,
probably as we look at the 2012 W-2s that have been issued by employers this year, in box 12, you're going to see an amount that you've never seen before. It's coded DD. And this indicates the health insurance that's been paid on your behalf by your employer. It's not taxable to you now. It just kind of reports to you the amount of fringe benefits that the employer is giving to you specifically. We look at it as an informational issue. It kind of tells you how fast health insurance is increasing. As you know, in March of 2010, the Affordable Care Plan Act became law after a lengthy debate and fight. And there's many provisions that roll into the Affordable Care Plan Act, not in 2012, but starting in 2013, 14, and 15. Those are the major issues. In 2012, it's very, very minimal. It affects the providers of health care. It affects the insurance companies with the minimum premiums that they have to pay out, or the costs they have to pay out. There's a ratio that the insurance companies have to meet specifically. When they collect $100 in premiums, they have to pay out $80 in medical costs.
So this is an improvement for the taxpayer?
I believe it's going to be an improvement in the healthcare industry itself.
Okay, great.
Yeah, very important. What are some important changes in the tax laws that we need to know about?
The most important change specifically is the adjustment of the individual income tax rates. As you know, we had a 10% rate specifically under the Bush era tax cuts. The highest rate that we had under the Bush era tax cuts was 35%. It went from 35% to 39.6%, but again, it's for high income taxpayers, over $250,000 to $400,000 specifically to pay that highest rate. So it doesn't affect the lower income individuals, nor does it affect the middle income taxpayers.
Great.
Awesome. Well, there's just so much information out there that we want to make sure that we get out to people. I'm learning so much about taxes. For those who are self-employed, though, I imagine that there are a lot of mistakes that the self-employed people make out there. What's maybe one thing that if you could educate them on making sure they have things together, what would it be?
I'm going to revert back to one small comment I made earlier with the matching capabilities that the Internal Revenue Service has. Make sure you report all the income that individuals give you 1099s on. That's the biggest mistake that we find. The other issue is keep track of all of your expenses on a day-to-day basis: mileage, meals, tools, materials, everything that you buy, subcontractors, and make sure that you report on a 1099 status for anyone that you paid by as a subcontractor.
Well, Tom, if I am thinking about going to a CPA, what are some things that I need to, what questions do I need to ask? How do I know that I'm going to someone who's going to really take care of me?
Well, as a certified public accountant, we're required to have continuing education on a per-year basis, take the required ethics courses on a 3-year basis. And we have a pro forma checklist that we give and discuss with you personally on the initial visit to go over what are your tax needs. And then we tailor the services we're going to give to you based on that pro forma that we discuss.
Okay, all right. Well, I have learned a lot. Have you learned a lot, John?
It's been quite an education. In fact, we're going to ask you to stick around to do a webcast so people can go to the website and see, get a little bit more information, because this conversation could stretch for hours. We just don't have enough time.
We do.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Now, we know that so many of you out there own your own businesses, and you have quite a few tax issues and concerns as well. There's a lot of information out there, but what are some of the most important things that you need to know? Well, be sure to join us next week when we will talk about what help is out there and available for small business owners.
Thanks to all of you for supporting the show. Remember to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and catch every episode of the show at johnredmondpoa.com or jrpoa.com. And we look forward to seeing you the next time.